Well, now this is interesting. E.T. versus the New World Order. I wonder who wins in that scenario.
Evil must be punished.
Alrighty. Let me try and break down the timeline for you right quickly. 1978, the New World Order gets an idea of setting Saturn on fire. And in 1979, a mysterious object is seen around Saturn by the Viking spacecraft as it sailed by. Then in 1991, a book comes out called Behold a Pale Horse, which describes the Illuminati, Bilderberger, New World Order idea for setting the sun on fire. Then, after in 1991, a very bright object is spotted by NASA in July of 2004. And subsequently it was also spotted again in 2006. Well, the interesting thing about the object is that it is self-illuminating. This object is so bright that it literally shines through the rings of Saturn as seen in this photo. This is a NASA photo, by the way. And as you can see, it's so bright it literally shines right through the rings of Saturn. Well, how thick are the rings of Saturn? Well, considering the fact that the size of Saturn is many, many, many times the size of Earth, you could fit 30 Earths inside of Saturn. So I'd say the diameter of the rings is easily about a third of the Earth thick. And yet this thing is shining through it like a diamond. As you can see in this picture, this is definitely self-illuminating. Note the rays of light emanating from the bottom of it. Clearly some sort of illumination of some kind. This thing is super huge. NASA's following it. It keeps changing its position. So it's definitely a manned or some sort of intelligent craft. I mean, it's not, it's not like a rock. It's not in orbit. It keeps changing its position. Sometimes it'll be way up high. Sometimes it'll be way down low. Sometimes it'll be on the other side of Saturn. And then NASA's not saying anything about it. They're mum on the subject. But this object, as you can see, is self-illuminating. And if I had to hazard a guess, I would say it's some sort of probe of some kind. A sensor probe would be my logical guess. Something that collects data, just like our satellite is doing as well, The only thing is, I would strongly recommend we not be messing with Saturn, though, because I think if we do something wrong to Saturn, and this probe picks it up, it's liable to radio back to whoever built it, and we could find ourselves in some deep trouble, guys. So looks to me like the New World Order might watch its P's and Q's about throwing the equivalent of a nuclear bomb into Saturn's atmosphere to see what happens. I don't think that would be a good idea. I don't think these guys who built this probe are going to be too keen on that idea, I think. Particularly if, as a result, the probe gets destroyed. Yeah, I think if we destroyed this probe, whoever built it's going to come calling. Okay? But no, this thing clearly was around not long after the idea was hatched about throwing Cassini into Saturn's atmosphere. And like I said, Cassini's about the equivalent of a nuclear bomb. And so I think the fact that this probe showed up not long after the idea was hatched, and now it's lit up, so it's apparently come alive and is functioning, leads me to believe that as it gets closer to 2008, July of 2008, which is when they're going to throw Cassini into Saturn's atmosphere, I don't know, maybe this probe will intervene. Maybe this probe will blow Cassini out into space dust before it even gets into Saturn's orbit. I don't know. But looks to me like somebody's watching, and so it'll be really interesting to see what develops. But seems to me like someone's keenly interested in what we're doing hanging around Saturn. That's for darn sure. And I think the prospect of turning Saturn into a second sun is something that perhaps whoever built this probe is going to frown upon. So we'll see what happens. But seems to me like we might not ought to be messing around with stuff. We ought to just send Cassini out into deep space, where it'll eventually drift and hopefully get caught by some sort of empty space out there and just kind of disappear or something. Who knows? But long as it doesn't blow up one of our planets, I'll be a happy camper. But we'll see how things go. It's going to get real interesting next year. Next year's going to be very interesting.